If you are looking for an episode that gets into the nitty-gritty of accountability, this, my friend, is your episode. I am chatting with XayeFaith and Devann Edwards. I have to apologize ahead of time because I think I butcher his name, but they are the founders of the Total Freedom Network. They are global business consultants who support entrepreneurs really to optimize their businesses through accountability. And they realize that this is what their business should be after they've paid for coaching. They've paid for all the stuff and things. They went and did all the workshops. It wasn't the quote unquote new info that changed their trajectory, but the accountability in the community that supported their growth, right? I think we're all looking for accountability and community. So they've created the profit plans to support entrepreneurs and organizations to level up their productivity, their efficiency, and profitability within their companies. Listen, these two individuals are on a hot mission to empower entrepreneurs to maximize their potential and create the life of total freedom. Keyword on the create. And they truly believe, and I truly believe, that the key to success is accountability. So come walk with me as we have a wonderful conversation. We dive so deep into what accountability actually is, and not only what it is, but what it is needed for, rather than solely relying on personal motivation. So come along. You are listening to That Big CEO Energy, where we talk all things business, life, marriage, and push you to a new edge of discovering what that big CEO energy means for you. Listen, I understand that we have barriers that we carry from when we were once employees, and those have impacted us as we continue to build our businesses. I'm here to walk alongside you and give you encouragement through interviews with friends and other women in business who have broken down those barriers and paved their own way. Tune in with me as we uncover some of the unconscious things that we do that keep us from building that big CEO energy we've always dreamed about. Let's dive in. Welcome, XayeFaith. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good. And we have Devann.
Devann.
Devann. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving me your time today. I know that we had briefly spoke through email, and so we are jumping into this juicy topic of accountability and what accountability actually means as far as support and not necessarily relying on just this motivation, which is another interesting word that tends to be a buzzword in my vocabulary, because without discipline, you don't have any motivation, is generally how I just think of things. So I would love to just jump right in and let's kind of go back to the beginnings, XayeFaith, on sort of both of your walks on how did you really dive into this topic and get yourself to a point where now it's part of your business and what you do. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So thank you so much, Callie, for this awesome podcast. Super honored to be here today. So like you mentioned, I am XayeFaith and my partner, Devann Edwards, and we are accountability consultants, and we've been entrepreneurs for a while. In the beginning of our career, we were, going to all the seminars, learning all the things, but we realized that we really weren't making a lot of progress. And it was just like, another conference, another training. And we're like, when are we going to implement this? And then, we're networking and we're talking to other entrepreneurs, and it just dawned like, we're in this learning mode, but we don't ever create space or allow time to follow through on the things that we learn. And after doing this for a while, it's like, man, the last three speakers said the same thing. So, and talking to other entrepreneurs, and also just observing like, oh man, like this person, if they just actually execute on what they already know, they could serve and support so many people who need them. And so I'm a planner, I'm an organizer. I love all the things. And so we're really just wanting to support the entrepreneur community. That's how we started, to help them follow through on what they already know, right? And it also, when you look at so many people who have succeeded or are there, you realize that everybody had their own unique journey and path because everybody is so unique. So it's like, yes, we hire our coaches, but at the end of the day, we get to trust the voice of ourselves and do business and do the thing, execute it how we would do it and not doing everything because this person said it.
Yeah, I love that. I talk about this a lot, just about like paving your own lane, right? And you can go to the conferences and you can do the things and you can take the notes and you can be the student. I think we all have succeeded in learning how to be a student. But at what point, right, do we take all that we've learned and start to kind of make our way towards now we're building something? So, Devann, I would love to learn from you in terms of what does it look like when you all get somebody that is like, I will tell you all the things that I have done. And it's a list of conferences, right? It's a list of probably other accountability groups and masterminds. And I mean, we know it all, right? How many master classes can one person take? So when you get those folks kind of in your arena, what are some of the things that you have learned that are the common denominators throughout that you really start to unpack with folks to understand what accountability actually means?
Yeah, so we like to bridge the gap of, okay, what are your current goals and desires and outcomes at this current moment? And oftentimes, like sometimes our clients go on a tangent where they start talking about the past. I'm like, but that's often what we find is holding them back, and is we get to be present because the past is the past, but oftentimes we're thinking too much or they're thinking too much, and what we get to do is just put that all on paper. We get to put that, write everything down on a list that is on your mind now, that you deem as important, that you deem as something that needs to be done in my life, in my business. And so that's what we have our clients do. We have them create a brain dump, a think dump list, and map out everything on a piece of paper or on a document. And so from then they can see all the things that don't matter and all the things that do matter. And so now it's pinpointing what is a priority. What is something that only you can do? And then what is something that okay, yeah, it may be important, but it doesn't have to be on your mind right now. It's not something you have to do right now. It's something you can do later. And then there's the other section, whereas you can leverage this and someone else can do it. It can still benefit you. It can still support your vision, but you don't have to do it. For example, like you don't have to do the marketing yourself. You don't have to do the outreach yourself. You don't have to do what are you good at? The tech, exactly. The tech. That's a learning.
That's the daunting one.
Oh my goodness.
I love delegating tech.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we had to get over that one because that was a whole mess. That we realized that's what held us back, and that's what holds back a lot.
Yeah.
Of especially leaders in these executive space, entrepreneurs as well. And one thing that, because we've been in the health and wellness industry before, and so we understand habits. And so when it comes to accountability is the habit of managing and directing discipline in a way that's going to serve you, in alignment with your vision, in alignment with your mission and your goals. Because oftentimes actions are not being taken because internally it's not actually a priority. Internally, it doesn't move us. And so if we want to achieve, we have to have that internal motivation, because external is they only last so long. So there's only so long you can go to events and they be like, they motivate you and you're good for the day. but then what's next? You didn't have a plan. You didn't have any next steps. And you didn't have any next steps that actually speak to you as well. And that only happens when we know what our priorities are. And often we are not knowledgeable about what our priorities are, because we just think something is relevant, but it's not.
Yeah. I think we oftentimes get stuck in this idea, right, where we think, oh, I have, and it's sort of an idea, but it's not enough of an idea that when we see the workshop, right, come across our desk, we're like, oh, that'll be the thing that tells me what I'm going to do next. That for sure. Signing up, like, and you don't even think about it. Your credit card is locked into your LastPass and you're ready to go. And then you get done with the workshop and you're like, okay, great. So I have my notebook and I have my stuff and things, and I'm super overwhelmed because I don't know how to implement this. I don't know what to do here. And I love this concept of personal motivation versus discipline, because a lot of people kind of bleed the line. And a lot of people think that they can be held together when in reality, one has to fuel the other. So XayeFaith, can you talk to me a little bit, especially with the women entrepreneurs that you see in your community, just how they show up in terms of really misunderstanding what the actual definitions mean for them, and how you kind of get them shifted to start to think about what next steps they need a little bit differently, sort of what that mindset piece entails, and go a little bit deeper there.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if I should be telling y'all my business. I'm just kidding.
Tell us your business, girl. Tell it all.
I was in the Air Force, so I actually have an affinity. Like I like structure. I love
She's disciplined. Y'all.
Okay,
disciplined.
Listen, we're all disciplined.
We are.
Disciplined, right? Are we disciplined for the things that we want to work in our life, or are we disciplined for the thing, that don't work? But, when it comes to words like willpower and discipline, we actually say, like, don't rely on your willpower and your discipline, because willpower, we all have it. It's all in us. Like, I'll give an example. I'm feeling lazy. I'm not doing nothing. But if the house caught on fire, I'm going to have the willpower to move and get up, right? Mm-hmm. We all have it. And it's kind of like it's something that, we shouldn't rely on because it's temporary. Willpower is very temporary, but a lot of people say, and I have this too, like we all do with certain things, right? I'm going to wait till the last minute. I'm going to procrastinate right up until the deadline. Do you have the willpower to just get it all done? Yeah, but that's not healthy for our overall life. So it's like our willpower is there. It definitely is there to save us, but it's not healthy for us to use it and put ourselves in stress states just for us to bring it out, right? It's mainly for, emergencies, and it's only temporary. So we can't really depend on our willpower. And discipline is super important. And I truly believe like we're all disciplined, but we're all disciplined for something that we may not want. Like we all have discipline is having the habit of doing something, right? But when a lot of times when people, we have negative energy, negative emotions about, I don't want to be disciplined around eating good, or I don't want to be, but I'm still disciplined at eating all the cakes and sugar, right? And so we are disciplined and we do have willpower, but again, it's not healthy. And also the thing about discipline, especially if we're working to get on track for something that we really want, it takes a while. It's a learning curve, and I was just journaling about this the other day, there's some things that, it took a lot of energy and it took a lot of effort because I went cold turkey and I started to resent myself or the activity that I was working on. So I'm like, you know what? Let me build a relationship on going on this journey and not being upset whenever I would relapse, right? Like just give myself grace, be compassionate, because discipline, it's a decision, it's a commitment, it's a choice, But it also, if we're as nice to ourselves as we are to other people, like if our friend relapsed on something, we're not going to be like, you stupid, I can't believe. We're going to be like, oh man, you know what? It's okay. Let's try again tomorrow. So we get to do that and work on ourselves while we're on that journey to being more disciplined at whatever the goal is. And so that's why we really harp on accountability, because accountability is really the shortcut to becoming more disciplined, to reserving and having a healthy level of using your willpower, right? Because when you have that, normally when you have the willpower, again, it's the reserve. It's kind of like, I want to go like all over the place with this, but I'm going to keep it here for us. With willpower, again, it's more of we're putting ourselves in a super stress survivor state, right? Like, hey,
it's a fight or flight response, right?
Right. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. But in discipline, it takes a while. It takes a lot of intention and a lot of focus, right? And when our feelings and our emotions get in there, discipline can go out the window. But when you have that accountability, you have internal and external factors, motivators to keep us going on the right track. And it kind of release a little bit of, I don't want to say this because that's not the image I want to leave, but it literally kind of, it shares the responsibility with our environment, with our accountability coach, with ourselves, versus like doing everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think there's something powerful to be said about the fight or flight response that even subconsciously we don't even realize is happening in our body. So when we're procrastinating, right? When we are just like, I'll work on that tomorrow, and the deadline for tomorrow comes and you're like, holy crap, I need to get all this done. That is not good pressure to even be putting on your body, because your brain is like, what in the world is going on? And now I've got to switch on, and all my little tinkly senses are going on, right? Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of having accountability. And I know that is, I can even feel it in my audience listening. When people say accountability, they're like, yeah, it's just somebody checking in on me. And I'm like, no, it's not. There is power. And not only it's not just, hey, how you doing? Doing good. Okay, great. There's just a layer deeper that comes when you really have somebody loving on you in such a way and understands kind of where you're going, like Devann said, from A to Z, and uncovering what those goals are, really shaping your brain to understand and prepare you for what is coming, so that we don't have the fight or flight response. And so we're not operating sort of out of this fear, because that's exactly what a fight or flight response is, this fear of not getting the end result or not doing the thing, right? But Devann, can you just really nestle in on where did you start to understand that accountability really is the pillar to moving from A to B in such a way that you are not falling apart in the middle of that?
Yeah. So one thing I'm very interested into, like quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and all of that.
Yeah.
And one thing that always sparks my brain is that when we think about, like, if anyone's listening to this right now, have you ever told yourself, oh, I have enough time? Oh, I don't have enough time. It's always this time factor that really is that blind spot that really either closes a gap or opens up a lot of gaps for nonsense to take place. And so why I kind of researched to understand, okay, what is time? What is time? And so in the world of quantum, time is a structural experience. So how do we control our time? How do we get back our time? We have to structure our experience in a way that's going to serve us. That was my interpretation of that. We have to structure our experience in a way that's going to serve us. And so how do we get structure? We have a plan. We have things in place that's going to really not only remind us, but raise our awareness to a point that we become unconscious competence over time. But again, it doesn't happen overnight. But once we put in those mechanisms, once we put in those systems in place that we can remind ourselves and really train ourselves and really instill the habit of doing the thing that we want to do, then that's where the gap is bridged. And so with accountability is really is a lot about optimizing your time. It's a lot about optimizing your energy. But again, when you're optimizing your energy is surrounded around how you operate in the time that you're occupying as well. So it really does come down to how are you using your energy within the time that you're given. You say you have 24 hours in a day. Yes. 8 hours you're probably sleeping.
You should be. If you're not.
You know what I mean? And then so you have maybe 8 to 12 hours that you're actually doing something. But why not take actions within those hours that are purposeful? Why don't you take actions that are moving you forward? And also, if you want to take those actions that maybe you're taking a little rest, or maybe you're taking some time to watch TV or have a little snack, why don't you schedule that in? And give yourself the knowledge of, I know I'm doing this, and I know the reason why I'm doing this, because oftentimes we're doing things unconsciously, but we don't know why we're doing it, but it's damaging us. So we get to have awareness around it, because now when we feel disappointed or we feel pessimistic about whether or not we can do a thing, it's really the fact that we're just restricting how we get to operate in our vision. And we lose sight of our vision as well. Because, I mean, any entrepreneur, any business owner, anyone would know that before anything comes is a vision. If it don't matter what goal you have, it doesn't matter. Unless you have a vision that is worthwhile or impactful, you're not even going to move. And so now you need to understand how is your vision gonna really move you forward in the time that you occupy, and how do you get to structure what you want to experience in your business? How do you get to structure what you want to experience in your life? And so that's why accountability allows you to go deep, because it's really aspect of self-responsibility. It's really an aspect of, okay, everyone gets to raise the bar, raise their belief, raise their actions, raise their results. Everyone gets to rise up to the, because we're not just human beings. We're capable, but we settle. We don't need to settle. We didn't come onto this earth to settle. But as not oftentimes do people know that. And with accountability, you get to know that, and you get to be held responsible for your own life. Because if you have a life, why would you not cherish it? Why would you not? I don't understand why you wouldn't cherish it. But
beyond me. But I think sometimes, right? I think sometimes when we're entrepreneurs and we're doing all the things and we're trying this and trying that and try, there becomes this, do I even explore something new? Because I'm doing what works right now. And if it works right now, it's kind of like that age-old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you could stay here and be operating in the comfortable. And we all know that life is really, really comfortable when we start to implement the things that we love, enjoy, and cherish. But then there's this added layer of more. What if there is more? What if, and we could all operate in the what if, but I love this notion of there's the accountability part, because when you start to put the accountability mixed in with the what if, it becomes a reality. Mm-hmm. And now we're firing on all cylinders. And now we're all getting ourselves to a place where we become an optimal human in the spaces that we're serving. And I think that it can get really, really messy when you're a mom, when you're a wife, when you have kids, when you have, the task list just comes in abundance. And dads have those too, right? They have the kids and the making sure, your marriage is healthy and all of the things. I don't want to discount the dads in there that, are also, but what about me? What about us as a human that are responsible for taking care of all the parts and pieces, but nobody's checking in on me. Nobody's asking me, am I doing the next best thing? Am I doing the next right thing for myself? And I love that you kind of took away the 24 hours in a day, because that is insane, that I will die in the hill of saying, stop telling people that they have the same 24 hours in a day, because some people are not sleeping 8 hours. Right? Some people are sleeping 4 and other people are sleeping 12 because they're in a season where they need to be doing that. Right? So it's like, no, we all don't share the same 24 hours in a day, but you kind of stripped it away and said, but what are you doing with the hours that you do have? Mm-hmm. Because that's where the impact is. And that's where, as XayeFaith says, you're finding your discipline and you're making it accessible for yourself to get yourself to the next level. Because newsflash, for those of you listening, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to do the work for you. Nobody is going to show up at your front desk and be like, hey, let me take that from you and do that for you. Especially as an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
And XayeFaith, I want you to, if you can, really talk about kind of your own personal experience on what kind of made you get into an idea that this is an accessibility that everybody needs to have, especially when you're running a business. Because I think I even look at my business and I'm like, we're transitioning, we're pivoting, we're doing some of the things, but it feels like I'm still on day one of trying to figure it out. And I know that that's not the case, but I think sometimes when we're building a business, when we're doing this stuff and things, it can often feel like we're still on day 354 operating on day one. So did you ever feel kind of that resistance when you were starting to kind of put together your brand and who you are and how you're sourcing people? And if so, what did that feel like then? And what does it feel like now?
Oh man, that everything is, you just layered that. I want to go so many ways with what you just mentioned. First of all, absolutely. To answer your question, I'm always in my face every single day, like, girl, you need to be further along. But then, I'll be very transparent. I'm actually in this season of my life to where I want to do things differently. Mm-hmm. And, I think I just told Devann this a couple of days ago when I was like, I have always had this projection on me. And I think I have heard like family members say it in encouragement, but then also as a kid, I kind of just took it on like, no matter what I'm doing, I'm always succeeding at it. So there's been things in my life I didn't go through the building, the developmental process of thing. And so it hit a ceiling and I was only mediocre at it. But because I was doing it, everybody assumed that I was great at it. But it was an internal conflict within myself of, I knew I wasn't the best, but I looked good. But it's a part of my identity now. So what next? Right. So just to kind of unpack what you were saying about you're doing something, it's working. Right. And I'm saying that with a little facetiousness because I know it's not 100%, but it looks great.
Yep.
And I'm comfortable. Right. And so I think to answer that part first, we get to be honest with ourselves. Am I okay with this standard that I have allowed in my life? Am I okay with this? If the answer is yes, I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable. Do you, boo?
Yeah.
Do you, boo? It's okay. This is your journey. This is your life. If you are contributing and you are exuding your purpose and living where you are, do you, boo? And own that. Don't be in the back of your head, entertaining. Oh, but I know. Just say, you know what? This is what I'm doing. I'm okay with it. I don't want to do no more. Own it. Like, trust yourself in that. It's totally okay. It's your life. Mm-hmm. If you are that person where like I am, I knew this is wrong. I'm destroying my confidence. I'm unhappy. I'm a different person behind closed doors than what I really am. Oh, and by the way, my relationships are not genuine because people think I'm this certain way, and I'm having to have this image when I'm with you. I can't even be authentic with you because I know there's more. I don't want to live like that anymore. And it's not easy, but every day I'm choosing to build this new identity and to be okay with where I am today in my process, right? And to own, oh, by the way, it doesn't work. It hasn't been working. I just need to put it out there so I can release myself from this sabotage, from this fakeness. Oh, and by the way, I want more genuine relationships. And so, yeah, I can figure some stuff out, but I don't have it figured out. And it's okay that I don't. And so that's for ourselves, but then also for the energy and the people around us. So but when we are more authentic and relatable in the relationships around us, it allows something more deeper and sacred in the relationship and the energy we emit in the world. So I hope I'm answering your question as far as like, what would you do? You get to choose. I'm choosing right now. There are some things where I am allowing to bleed, so to speak. Like, I'm like, this is not a priority. It's important, but I can do this later. Or, so there are things that I'm like, this isn't a priority. But for the things that I'm super passionate about, that they create a lot of energy, a lot of heat inside of me. Like, those are the things that I'm like, and it's in my face every day. And it's also causing me to question my identity and my character. Like, those are the things that I am challenging in my life. And so absolutely, I'm trusting myself on the journey to say, hey, in this area or in this particular thing, I'm okay with being mediocre. Oh, and I own it. I'm going to be mediocre here. Let me be mediocre here. But for this thing right here, absolutely no way. I get to be honest where I am. I get to assess the situation. I get to process and nurture that part of me because there may be some trauma around it. Like, even for me I'm glad you're asking this question, even for me to call myself out right now and say, there's some things that I knew I was hiding behind a mask and I was playing a part, even though I knew it wasn't real, but I didn't know that it was not okay to be authentic or to be real in that space. So yeah, absolutely. And as far as the accountability, again, after you make the decision on what are you going to be mediocre at and, what are you not going to be mediocre at, my intention is to not be mediocre in anything. And I'm also allowing myself to be on this journey and to not be perfect at raising my standards in all the areas of my life, but I'm choosing because, again, I don't want to relapse. I want to build this new identity. I want to build, excellence, right? I want to build it in all of my life. And so I'm allowing myself to explore this journey with no shame and, to be human. So I think did I answer your question? Was that the end?
It was the most beautiful response I could have asked for a human on the planet, quite frankly. I love how real and honest you are. And Devann, I think that there's something to be said, right, for folks that show up probably like XayeFaith, and they're like, I have my whole entire bucket list like written out, and these are the things that I want to do. But I think we miss the step of working back through that list and saying, can I excel in this or am I going to be mediocre? Because if I'm okay with settling with mediocre, then this is the area that I'm going to live in right now, right? But if I if I just for a moment unpack my whole entire list, like me as a human, I'm going through my Rolodex of all the things that I want to do and say, Faith, you said it so beautifully of, does it excite me? Does it light me on fire? Because if it doesn't, then what the hell am I doing it for? Like what? And so here for the listeners is the accountability piece. Because if you're doing it just to save face or doing it for your family or doing it for your kids or doing it for someone else, why? Why are you doing it? And when you really tap into your why of the things that you're doing on a daily basis and the things that you want to get to, you can only do that by having somebody sit with you and question it. Because you can't question, I mean, you can question yourself, right? But you're going to give yourself the same answer that you would give your friends. And it's linear, right? And it's the expectation that you knew that you would already say that to yourself. So that's why you're saying it to yourself. But having somebody like Devann or XayeFaith show up in a space where they're like, let's bleed the line a little bit, right? Let's ruffle the feathers on this because I'm not sure that you're saying what you actually mean you want to say. And that's a place of love. That's a place of community where other people show up and they're like, hey, hi, I see you doing the thing, but also gonna love on you for a minute and challenge what you're doing. Devann, did you have people in your circle show up like that?
Yes. I did and I didn't. So I had a
What do you do with the people that don't?
Oh gosh. So what do you do? What do you do? So what you do is in some cases you love them from a distance.
Ah, there it is.
That's mainly what I do actually. Love them from a distance and also communicate in a or like prompt like the kind of responses I want to get from them if they choose to communicate with me. And one thing that Zay said, and I think it really does bleed over accountability as well, is do nothing without intention. Do nothing without intention. And oftentimes the intention is skewed around like what are we actually talking about? What are you actually saying? Or how do you really feel about this? And so we don't create accountability without intention. We don't hold someone high if we don't know to hold them high, or we don't have the intention to hold them high. Because oftentimes we don't hold someone high because we're not choosing to hold ourselves high. It's really like an exchange of worth. So it's like, okay, if I see the worth in myself, I by default I'll see the worth in you. So I'm gonna challenge you. I'm going to see what more are you doing other than what you're doing on the surface. Like what you doing internally, what you doing on yourself. What's your support system like currently? You know, like what's holding you back and what's helping you forward? Like what are these obstacles that are in your way? Because oftentimes we can gauge it from someone's language, whether or not they're feeling great, feeling good, or just in the middle. They're not sure. And so it's really important that we not only talk it out, but get out of our thoughts, because again, it's our mind that's really going to move us. And so our thoughts is the mental movement of our mind. So whatever's moving around is moving around too fast for us to grasp. So it needs to be released from our brain. It needs to be released from our brain and really displayed in a way that we can actually see it, because oftentimes we're blind of it. And I was grateful to have some people in my life, even mentors as well, that would give me tips on how I can really navigate myself around my environment, but not just interacting with my environment. Because again, by default, if I'm able to navigate myself correctly around my environment, I'm naturally going to interact in the best way that's going to serve me as well, and not make me feel uncomfortable. Because I didn't like interacting with people. I mean, I was good at I could definitely talk to people, but I was like, nah, I'm good. That was me back in the day. And it wasn't until I put myself in an environment, because I mean, my intention was to help people, but you can't help people if you're sitting at home.
Yeah.
You can't help people if you're not actually going to have a discussion with them. And I had a lot to say, but again, it wasn't in alignment with my action. And then so I had to bring myself in alignment by putting myself in an environment where I'm doing that which I deem as a priority to myself. I'm doing that which I deem is important to me. So now there's no restrictive energy.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm actually taking intentional action on a task that's worthwhile, that's impactful, that I know is going to make a difference. And then and knowing I can do that over time, because if I can do it this today, if I can do it tomorrow. If I do it tomorrow, I know I can do it the next day. And so it's something that I know I can repeat. It's an action I know I can repeat. And then now it's a case of, okay, you've done this. Let's review this. Like, can you do more? Can you do more? And I always challenge myself to really continuously improve it. Any entrepreneur, like personal development is key in all ways. And so when I got introduced to even the world of entrepreneurship, I got obsessed with personal development because it wasn't exposed to me. Oftentimes we don't have the exposure of what could be. Again, as you said, the what ifs. We don't have the exposure. So it's like when Zay and I create the profit plans and really outline the plan for our clients, it's really exposing everything. And then once we expose it, we're like, okay, let's take out what's not useful and discard that, and let's keep everything that's really gonna be a builder, everything that's really gonna help be a building block towards what your ideal of success is, what your ideal for excellence is, what your ideal for responsibility is, what your ideal for prioritization is. And so it gets to be a personalized blueprint for any individual, any group of people. And so that's what excites me as well. And what excites me is that everyone can still reach a certain level of excellence in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be what the school tells you. It don't have to be what what your mom, your dad tells you. It is for you. And that can be enough. That can be enough. But you have to you get to identify what makes it enough as well for you to move towards that. And that's something I had to do constantly, and I'm still doing it, because again, I know there's another level. So
yeah.
That's really what helped me.
I think that's where we find freedom, right?
Yeah.
You know, I hear people all the time, they're like, I just want freedom in my business. I just want to like break free from just feeling like an employee in my business. And I'm like, okay, how are you doing that? And your personal development, and I have a really good friend that said this so wisely. She said, your personal development is your business development. Mm. What are you doing personally for your business to develop both ends of the spectrum? And there, in the middle of finding whatever that is for you, right? Especially when you're working with accountability folks who can help you map out a designed plan, that's where you find freedom. That's where you find feeling alive and feeling like I've got a purpose and I've got the next best step and I've got this all figured out. Because isn't that what we all want, is to like have it, whatever it is, we want to just have it figured out. We don't want to be swirling in this like vacuum of, I have all the again, going back to all the workshops, all the, like, I just giggle at all the workshops that are available because I'm like, yes, those are for folks that like, they're for specific people, right? But if you are a person that is, this next workshop is going to give me X, Y, and Z. This next course is going to tell me how to do X, Y, Z. That's really, really great. And it is probably going to tell you some things, but like XayeFaith said it, what are you doing with that information? What are you, like after you show up, what's happening? And building a plan, right? Not of just doing from A to Z, but building a plan for yourself and how to be productive. I think that is the most beautiful thing that you could have shared with folks is like, you have to have a plan on how you're going to execute these things. Because if you don't, what's going to happen to them? They're still going to sit on paper. Listen, I have things on paper. I'm just
freedom is not intuitive. Freedom is not intuitive.
It's not intuitive. You have to build it.
You have to architect it. You've got to design it.
Yes.
It requires movement. It requires something. It's not just internal.
I love on one of the forums you said the potential to create a life of total freedom. That word create really stuck out to me because that was the aha moment. Even just reading your little snippet of like, yes, you have to create total freedom in order to feel freedom. You can feel free in many different areas all throughout your life at many different times, but have you created a life of total freedom? So, XayeFaith, what does total freedom mean to you?
Yes. So it's actually a concept that we heard from a speaker years ago. I don't even know how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. His name is Sachin Patel, and we were at a training, of course. He was talking about the concept of total freedom. And he said it is emotional freedom, financial freedom, health freedom, travel freedom, and time freedom. And when we heard it, I mean, it was just like a huge aha for us. And I'm like, that's it. That's the key to life. And we just started talking about it, and we were super excited about the concept because for the first time, it didn't feel like something was missing. It was like, freedom, and even people say freedom, but I'm like, it's not everything. It's something's missing because a lot of times when people think of freedom, they think about just the money or just the health or just relationships. So whenever he explained the concept of total freedom, Devann and I, we got super obsessed, and we're on a mission to help people live a life of total freedom.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
And I do want to add really quickly, the cool thing about that is your definition of total freedom, because Devann's definition of total freedom, even though we're, in partnership and everything, his looks a little bit different than mine, so it's your personal definition of what is total freedom to you. Yeah.
And you don't have to get everybody on board with your definition of total freedom. I feel like there are times where, especially out in social media, it's like, you want all of this freedom and you want, and they're creating and writing for a response, right? And as general in humans, we evoke emotional response. And so then we turn into, that's what we're chasing. We're chasing the freedom. What we're missing is the know-how and the accountability to do so. Like that's hanging out, like you left that at a gas station on your way and didn't pick it up with like your chips and snacks to go with you. So when you are chasing something that really is just, I don't know, I would call it dead, really, without the accountability piece, without some sort of a plan, you end up in the same place that you started because you didn't know any other difference. Right? And you two are amazing, first of all. And I love that you are really breaking this down into digestible, simple, right? The simplest steps that you can take in your life to move forward And I think that there's something to be said about working with people such as yourself that have done the walk, that have seen it, seen the things. I mean, hello, Air Force. I'm sure you've seen things we don't need to chat about. So it makes sense for two humans such as yourself to be in spaces with other entrepreneurs to say, like, look, there's a different way. And we can explain how simple it really is, right? To rewire our brain, to get us on a path of thinking differently. Because I truly believe that if you start to think differently, then you start to know differently and you start to build differently. And there's hope. I think some people get stuck in their businesses and they're like, I'm just going to walk away because I don't know what to do here. I don't have anybody helping me. Please start outsourcing. By God, especially your tech. It'll be the death of you. It will be the death of you. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful merriment of accountability and success. And success is different for everyone. Success looks different for everyone. But the resounding theme here is you still have to have accountability to get to wherever you're going, right? It's like kids. Do you have your shoes in your backpack? Yeah, well, half the time my kid's missing their shoe somewhere. I have no idea. But I'm the accountability piece there, right? Like, are you going to go step out in the snow without your shoe? Because you're not going to do that. But all of that to say, I want to thank you for stepping into this really big space, because it is a space that not many people are willing to go and take brave souls with them. You have to be brave, right, in order to create your total freedom. And we can see it all over the internet. But I think when you reach out for help, that's brave in and of itself. So I just want to encourage everybody listening that, like, if you are on the fence of needing accountability, of wanting that for yourself, please reach out to these two beautiful humans that will help you get there. Where can we find you all across the internet? Give us the goods. What do you have coming up that maybe people can tap into? All of this stuff and things.
So everywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, I'm XayeFaith, XayeFaith. I am XayeFaith. And as far as our company, we have the Total Freedom Network. And again, on our Facebook and YouTube and all the places.
So we also have a free gift for your audience. And that is our free downloadable is our prioritize and thrive worksheet. So if they want to start the journey of accountability, if they want to start the journey of beginning to prioritize their life and move from surviving mode to thriving mode, they can download that sheet at totalfreedomevents.com/thatbigCEO energy. That is totalfreedomevents.com/thatbigCEO energy. I'm going to repeat it again. totalfreedomevents.com/thatbigCEO energy.
And you can find Devann everywhere. Devann Edwards. We forgot to say follow Devann.
That's it. Thank you.
Contact him.
Yes. They're two
Devann
beautiful
Edwards.
humans. Awesome. Well,
Thank
you so much for your time and your expansion of this topic. It is something that is near and dear, obviously, to my heart and the audience. So thank you again. And we will catch everyone in the next one. Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you heard something that helped you, I would love it if you would leave a review and share it with your friends. This helps more people just like you become inspired to move the needle of their big CEO energy into a positive direction. If you would like to learn more about how I can help you streamline and position your business for growth or lead your business as a CEO, feel free to jump into the show notes with all of the links to find me. And don't forget to head over to Instagram so we can be pals.